Johnny Rotten, the blunt frontman of the Sex Pistols, isn't exactly known for mincing words, especially when it comes to his disdain for certain bands. And one band that's been on the receiving end of his snarl is none other than the pop-punk group Green Day. It's quite a curious beef considering the vast differences in time, place, and style between the two bands. But then again, rationality has never been Rotten's strong suit. So, let's dive into the beef between Billie Joe Armstrong and Johnny Rotten that has been going on for over 25 years. Let's rewind a bit. The Sex Pistols, famous for their album Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, disbanded after its release in 1977. But years later, in 1996, they surprised everyone by announcing a reunion for the Filthy Lucre Tour. In this tour, they played massive venues around the globe, a far cry from their punk roots. Despite the irony of a money-making reunion, Rotten couldn't resist stirring the pot and taking shots at the newer bands, with Green Day squarely in his sights. During a press conference, Johnny Rotten dropped a bombshell saying that they were only back together for the money. Here's his blunt take on it, and I'm quoting, "We still hate each other with a vengeance, but we've found a common cause, and that's your money. These are the people that wrote the songs, and now we'd like to be paid for them. Over the years, every fucker has lived off us, and we haven't seen penny one." Rotten didn't stop there. He also took a jab at other punk bands, claiming that the Sex Pistols were the only true punk rockers, and accusing newer bands, like Green Day, of not being authentic voices of the younger generation. This didn't sit well with Billie Joe Armstrong, who fired back at Rotten's remarks, sparking a feud that would last for years. Now, even though Johnny Rotten didn't shy away from admitting that money was the main reason for reuniting the Sex Pistols, he couldn't resist asserting that his band was the ultimate punk rockers. Then comes Billie Joe Armstrong, who innocently made a cheeky comment during an interview when asked about the Sex Pistols reunion. He tweaked Rotten's own words, jokingly saying, and I'm quoting, "I am the Antichrist. Please buy our merchandise." And you'd think Rotten, being upfront about the tour being for cash, would find it amusing. But instead, he decided to start a strange public feud with Green Day. Back in 1996, Green Day was ruling the punk scene, thanks to their smash hit albums like Dookie and Insomniac. But Rotten still insisted that the Sex Pistols were the true voice of youth rebellion. During a promotional tour for their reunion, an MTV reporter asked Rotten what his band offered to 16-year-old punk fans that Green Day didn't. Rotten's classy response? A big willy. Yep, he said that at 40 years old. Talk about keeping it classy, right? Johnny Rotten didn't hold back with his insults. He went on to say, "No, you've seen imitators, that's what you've seen," implying that bands like Green Day were just copycats. He argued that their music lacked substance, unlike the raw, rebellious content of the Sex Pistols. Rotten made it clear that their lyrics were meant to challenge the establishment, not churn out love songs like other bands. Billie Joe Armstrong responded to Rotten's accusations, saying that while the Sex Pistols influenced Green Day, Green Day's success also paved the way for the Sex Pistols reunion tour. It was a subtle jab back at Rotten's claims of being ripped off. But Rotten wasn't finished. Even after Green Day's huge success with American Idiot, he took another shot at them on his bandmate Steve Jones's radio show. He mocked Green Day for trying to rebel against the system while actually becoming a part of it. Rotten called them silly, rich, fat kids, implying they were disconnected from the true punk spirit. And he didn't stop there. Years later, he criticized Green Day again, this time comparing their music to blancmange, a kind of pudding. He said that their songs were like a mishmash of different punk styles, calling it quote-unquote preposterous. Now, if anyone doubted the sincerity of Johnny Rotten's dislike for Green Day, his candid interview with the LA Times in 2011 laid those doubts to rest. He didn't mince words, expressing his genuine disdain for the band. Rotten didn't just dislike Green Day, he despised them. He went as far as to label them as mere imitators and cop-outs in the punk scene. Rotten's hate towards Green Day ran deep. He compared them to coat hangers, suggesting that they lacked the substance and authenticity to be considered true punk. In his eyes, Green Day hadn't earned their stripes like the original punk bands did. They hadn't faced the same level of violence, hate, and adversity that characterized the early punk movement. Rotten believed that punk was born out of struggle and resistance, and Green Day's mainstream success seemed incongruent with those values. His reference to Green Day ending up on Broadway was particularly cutting. It conveyed his disdain for the band's commercialization and mainstream acceptance. For Rotten, punk was about rebellion and counterculture, not about Broadway shows and commercial ventures. He saw Green Day's success as a departure from the true spirit of punk, a dilution of its raw energy and rebellious ethos. By 2013, Johnny Rotten's long-awaited encounter with Green Day finally happened, and it wasn't exactly a friendly rendezvous. As he recounted, their meeting in Russia left a bitter taste in his mouth. Rotten didn't hold back, describing Green Day as the, quote, worst karaoke band around. He was taken aback by their attitude, finding them ignorant not only about punk history, but about music in general. Rotten felt that Green Day had become puppets of the record company, blindly following orders without understanding the essence of punk. Fast forward to 2018, and Rotten's disdain for Green Day hadn't diminished. In fact, it seemed to have intensified. He expressed embarrassment at the sheer number of bands attempting to replicate Green Day's style. To Rotten, Green Day represented a diluted version of punk, lacking the authenticity and rebellion that defined the genre's roots. Despite his ongoing criticism, Rotten inadvertently highlighted Green Day's enduring impact on the music scene. Even decades after their emergence, Green Day remained a focal point of Rotten's hate, underscoring their lasting relevance. Reflecting on punk's 40th anniversary, Rotten's frustration was clear. He mourned the appropriation of the punk label by bands like Green Day, whom he saw as mere imitators. Rotten believed that Green Day and similar bands were using punk as a facade, without truly understanding or embodying its spirit. In a recent interview with the New York Times, Rotten didn't hold back his criticism of modern punk bands, singling out Green Day once again. He found it amusing that so many bands were attempting to emulate Green Day's style. Now, despite Green Day's shift from being a contemporary influence to a piece of music history, the feud between Rotten and the band kept going strong. What started as a clash of musical beliefs turned into a dramatic spectacle of ongoing tension. People couldn't get enough of the drama, and as long as the feud went on, it seemed like there was no end in sight. Well, in conclusion, the conflict between Johnny Rotten and Green Day offers a peek into the intensity and emotion that can arise in the music industry. It reminds us that even famous musicians can have strong disagreements over what defines good music. Whether you're a punk enthusiast or just enjoy a bit of drama, this story has something to pique your interest. If you enjoyed learning about this music beef, don't forget to show your support by giving this video a thumbs up and making sure to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories from the world of music. And hit that notification bell so that you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching.